Good morning, everybody. Uncle Alex here. It's the day after Christmas. I hope you guys had a really good one. I myself had a nice, quiet family Christmas. Just me, my brother and sister in law, my dad and my mom, and my nieces. And it was a really, really nice couple of days there just to chill out and hang out with the family. Now, I did get a new addition to my kitchen. I got one of these Ninja food processors, which I'm super excited to start making some pemmican. I've got some venison on the dehydrator right now, and it's going to turn into some nice pemmican blocks. I don't think this is the exact same model as the Ninja that I got, but it was one of these blenders with the Pro Auto IQ, whatever that is. I still have yet to unbox it and use it, but I'm very excited about that. And I also got myself one of these Intex K1 Challenger rafters, kayaks rather, not a raft. Which I'm usually pretty wary of inflatable water sport stuff, but apparently it does really well. So I can't wait to inflate that when the weather gets a little warmer and start paddling around a lake. That should be a lot of fun if it ends up being a good piece of kit. Anyway, on to our news for today. This is from December 1st. Coming from Phantoms and Monsters. We have a Halifax County, Virginia woman recalls family's Bigfoot encounters. So this was pretty recently reported. Now it's a pretty old account, but it's just coming out. So here we have it. A Halifax County, Virginia woman recalls her encounter with an apparent Bigfoot on one occasion. The creature tried to enter her house and then sneaked around the trailer's home, or her aunt's trailer home. Make it a little bigger so you guys can read along. My name is Kathy, and I live in Halifax County, Virginia. My entire family has always been a big outdoor family. Hunting, fishing, frog gigging, canoeing, etc. About 40 years ago, I'm 53 now, after a day of hunting and cleaning deer, my brother and I were walking home from my aunt's, about 4 miles from our home. It was a dark night, no moon, and hard to see. Both of us had our 12-gauge shotguns thrown over our shoulders as we walked. We both started to feel uneasy, so we went to a slow jog. We had a ditch we had to jump as we got to the edge of the yard. My brother was faster than me, so he was ahead by about 100 feet. As I jumped the ditch, I heard a sudden movement, as if it was coming towards me. I yelled at my brother to wait up. We went into the house and put up our guns. My grandparents had gone to visit someone, and we were not home yet. My brother went and took a shower. I just felt uneasy, as if someone was watching me. Something kept telling me to lock the door, which we rarely did at the time. I finally listened to my instinct and did. Now, if you live out in the country like these people do, locking your doors is not like a normal thing, as if, like it is where I live. It's a small city, but you probably want to lock your door. And I often, by habit, because I grew up in the country, do not lock my door, and nothing really happens here in Stanton, but it's the possibility that something could. I've been outside at 2 a.m. and some random person's just hanging out on the corner. So I always try to remind myself to lock the door. But when you're out there, no one's ever going to be standing on your corner because you don't have a corner. You don't have a street corner. My brother went upstairs to his room. I took my shower, a really quick one, still feeling uneasy. I also pulled at the shades. I pulled all the shades down in the house. After my shower, I laid down in my grandparents' bed, waiting for them to get home. I heard the doorknob rattle, thinking it was my imagination. I lay there very still. I heard it rattling harder. I eased out of the bed and walked to the stairs from my grandparents' bedroom. The house was old, and I made it where you could walk in a circle and go through all the rooms. You could see the side doors from the stairs. I got to the stairs and knelt upon them. I told my brother that someone was trying to get in the door. He laughed at me and told me it was my imagination. I continued to sit there, scared, almost in tears. He agreed to come down. He sat in the bedroom with me. The doorknob rattled again. He then walked to the living room, which is separated by 2 French doors with glass. He looked through the French doors, and he said that he saw a tall man with his face against the top window panes on the side door. He said they had a really wide nose and dark skin, and it looked like he was as wide as the door. He said they filled the door up and his hair just stood on his head. As wide as the door. That's a big man. Really big man. That's Lou Ferrigno. That's Andre the Giant. That's somebody who's huge. He was whispering for me to bring him a gun, all the while the doorknob was still rattling. As I gave him the gun, we heard a car coming down the road. This thing ducked down, but we could still see its head through the bottom of the window panes. It was my grandparents. They pulled in. It ran off the porch towards the backyard. My brother ran outside as they pulled in, and my grandparents got my grandparents to pull around the yard, shining headlights everywhere. We never saw anyone or anything. About a week later, I went to stay with with another aunt who lived about 5 miles away. It had just gotten dark. Spoon, you are making noise. Come here, you. She's having fun with plastic bags and whatnot. Weirdo. Little weirdo. Where are we? About a week later, I went to stay with another aunt who lived about 5 miles away. It had just gotten dark. My uncle went to bed. We were each lying on opposite ends of the sofa, watching TV. All of a sudden, my aunt jumped up screaming, "What the hell?" I jumped up and asked, "What is it?" She said someone was pressing their face against the bay window of the trailer, staring in. I ran outside and walked to the end of the trailer to see if I saw anything. When I got to the end of the trailer, I heard someone charge towards me. I got my butt back inside quickly. My uncle had gotten dressed, and he grabbed a kitchen knife and went outside to see if he saw who it was. And I heard him yell, "Get over here! What are you looking for?" He then ran into the trailer and told his wife to run to his mom's house, which is in the same yard as the trailer, and call the police. She wouldn't go alone. I didn't run with them for some reason, as I realized I was by myself. I could hear a bumping against the trailer. I sat on the floor in the living room. My aunt ran back, apologizing for leaving me. Then I heard shots fired. My aunt and I waited. My uncle came in and said that there was a 7 to 8 foot tall man wearing what seemed to be a dark brown trench coat who jumped up from behind the big bush and started running across a field behind the house. It was July, so why would anybody be wearing a heavy coat? The cops came and took a report, then pulled down and rode through the field. They never got out of the car. They said we probably scared them off, and I was scared to walk anywhere by myself for a long time after that. All right, you be good. Be good, little one. And that's it. That is the report. And apparently this is actually transcribed from a YouTube video. And what do we have here? This is Steve Isdahl. This is somebody wrote into Steve Isdahl. So, yeah. I guess they just totally ripped that from an email that was sent to Steve Isdahl. If you guys aren't familiar with Steve, his channel is, his channel is normally the factsbyhowtohunt.com, but this is a different one. Subscribe to that, I guess. Roundtable of Knowledge by How to Hunt. Yeah, this is another channel by Steve. I didn't know about this one. He gets emails from people who have had these experiences, and he just reads them, all one take, and he gives his thoughts on them. And so I guess I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm giving my thoughts. This encounter is significant for two particular reasons. One is the thing was trying to get in the house, or at least testing the door handle. That's not something you hear very often, that one of these creatures enters a home. I think I've heard of them many times looking through windows, which you also hear in this account. Staring through windows, putting arms through windows occasionally if the window is open, and testing the doorknob. But actually going into a house is very, very rare thing to hear about. And how many of these accounts do we know are true? We don't know for sure. But the other significant thing here is that this thing approached this woman, or little girl at the time, I guess, and at two different properties. It was at her home and then at her aunt's home. So that's also significant. It's not too terribly far away. I think she said 5 miles in here. My aunt who lived about 5 miles away. So yeah, that's not too terribly far for a human to walk. The thing is how do they track you that far? Is it by smell? Are they watching? Are they fast enough to follow a car? These are pretty good questions when it comes to an account like this. That I found really interesting, and I don't have too much more to say about it. But I am gonna watch the I'm gonna watch the Steve Isdahl. I'm getting a phone call. I'm gonna watch the Steve Isdahl thing now and see how that goes. Sorry, Mom. I'll call you back. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Merry Christmas.